Welcome back to Life Biz and All That Jazz, the podcast where real talk meets transformation. This is a space for you to heal, to grow, and to learn some empowering tools to help you become the best version of yourself and to create an aligned life. Whether you're navigating mental health issues, trying to rebuild after loss, or just want to step into your power again, you're not alone, and I'm right here with you every single step of the way. I'm your host, Jasmine Lisciotto, and if you're new here, welcome to the family. If you've come back for more, thank you for trusting in my vision and coming back for more. Before we dive into today's episode, I have a quick favor to ask you. Most of you that are listening are not actually subscribed to the podcast, so I'd really love if you could just pause it right now. If you can, if you're driving, try to remember to do it later. That's so fine. And hit subscribe. It really helps me support the podcast and really helps me grow organically so we can reach more people like yourself and just help change this world. Today, I am joined by Viktoria, who is an intuitive finance educator. She's also the founder of the Money Goddess Grow System, which we'll be chatting more about later. Victoria's work is all about transitioning our mindset from what we believe to be correct or what we've been brought up to perceive to really transition it into something that feels aligned with us and fits with the current economic climate. Victoria is all about helping women to move from that fear about money and the confusion to clarity and confidence. In this episode, we really dive deep into the pension system and how we need to rethink about our futures and put in different practices than what they had to do 10, 20, even 30, 40 years ago, what our parents had to do. So if you're ready to rewrite your relationship with money, today's episode is for you. And that's enough from me. Now let's chat with Victoria. Welcome, Victoria. I'm so excited to have you on Life Biz and All That Jazz.
Well, thank you, Jasmine. It's so great to be here.
Yes, and I've done a little bit of an introduction to the audience already, so they know a little bit from my perspective, but I'd really love to dive in. And something I've read from previous conversations that you mentioned that relying on the pension system just wasn't going to cut it and it was going to leave you broke. So I think that's a really exciting way for us to start this conversation today.
Yeah. Well, pension systems across the globe are different, but where I am, it's destined to die sooner or later. It's just the way that it has been structured, restructured, and all of that. But realizing in your specific situation, in your specific country, if you can rely on this income in your golden years, is a great starting point to understanding your situation. Compare it to your goals. So you got to have the goals also, and not just, go with the flow and, let anything happen. So compare it to your goals and see the gap. And from then on, it's all about just planning and researching a little bit to make sure that whatever you want to live and experience in later years is achievable and is achievable in a not a frustrating way. Like you don't have to work till you die to get all the money right that you need.
I 100% agree with you. Here in Australia, similar thing with the pension. I think you can have we can have one property to a certain value, and then still get the pension. So if you own your home and have that money coming in, I still personally don't think it's enough to live happily. We have that superannuation as well here, where with work, you put money away, which is separate. It's kind of the same, but you get the pension is like a weekly income as well that you can get. But yeah, it's nothing that you could live comfortably on, I don't think. And even I hear stories sometimes, there's people that live on their own and, they weren't as fortunate to be able to own their own home, but they're in their 60s and 70s now, and they've had to move in and share a house with people because they can't afford to live that. So that's something that really sparked when you said that, because that's exactly how I feel. I'm independent on my own finances, but for me, earning money, there's no cap to what we can earn. And we have to have that mindset, but then also have the plan. And it's the belief. It's the belief that comes within. And it's also unlearning a lot of patterns that we were taught when we were younger, which I'm sure you understand all about. What was the first moment? So obviously you mentioned that, you know, you knew that that was something that you couldn't rely on. What was the first moment that something sparked in you thinking, I need to change the way that I'm thinking? And then obviously that's flowed on to you now helping other women or other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. So when I first realized that I cannot rely on the pension system, because I live in a post-communist country, and for, I believe it's 45 years, we've been taught, we have learned that we can rely on the country, on the state taking care of us when we can no longer work. But after, the changes in the 90s, we realized that that was all a lie. It was not true. So something that you have grown up to believe in suddenly, is exposed as false and just not true. And these are the kinds of truths that we are used to believing in that we need to question. And the sooner we question them, the better. So when I got to the point where I realized the pension system is not going to provide for me, my kids were just getting old enough to take more care of themselves so that I could focus part of my attention and my energy to planning for the future. So that was the time when I started learning about finances, budgeting, investing, and all of that. And that's when I realized how many more statements or beliefs that we have are actually false and not true. And we need to, being intelligent people that we need to question everything. And sometimes a belief that you hold on to, you just don't realize that you need to question it. It just seems so natural and valid that you can't imagine, needing to question and to investigate more into it. So I'm really excited to be living in a time and in a world where, as you said, there is no cap on how much you can earn because we are in a global economy. We can reach people, companies, potential clients, or we can work for employees from across the world. And this is a whole new paradigm of how we work and how we bring in income. So, given just this circumstance and this change in the world is enough to poke you to start thinking differently about money as a whole and as a system, as rules, right? So yeah, that's the kind of starting point. Just consider all the changes that have happened in the world for the past 10, 15, 20 years and ask yourself, well, how does what I used to believe in still work in this completely new world that we are living in?
That's a great way to explain it. And I think something important that you said there is like the global economy. We have an infinite amount of resources to learn how to make money in certain ways, but then also we can make money while we sleep now. You know, there's so many things that we can have set up. And I think the big thing now is also having passive income and making sure that what we do invest in is eventually going to give us that. Or for example, like property, learning how to buy property. And there's obviously a lot of avenues and a lot of ways we can make money. But I think it can be quite scary for people that haven't really dived into understanding their beliefs or just don't even have that self-awareness that just because they've grown up a certain way and they think a certain way doesn't mean that they can't change the way of thinking or change their beliefs. So I think with money as well, and I know this is something you mentioned before, is the masculinity and how a lot of money is like in the masculine lens. So I'd love for you to explain, why doesn't that work? Why doesn't that work for women that want to learn about money?
Well, that's one of my favorite questions. Speaking about the masculine and the feminine side of earning and managing money. The way that we have been taught in our society is the way that we are used to seeing how money is brought in the family. Like, you have to work at least 9 to 5, put in extra hours, do more hard work so that you can earn more eventually. And this old paradigm used to work, right? I'm not denying it. In the past, that was what was working. But now, with all of the opportunities that we have, we just don't need to keep sticking to this model. There are other avenues. But this model, it is entirely masculine. It is all about the hustle and the grind and putting in more efforts, more hours so that you can do probably overtime, get some more income. And this masculine energy, it's also in the foundations of the financial system as well. So we have all these numbers, we have the spreadsheets, the formulas, the investments, looking at stocks and prices going up and down all the time. So this is all very, very strategic, very focused, very mathematical and punctual, which is absolutely necessary. It's, but it's only one side of the equation. The other side of the equation is where the feminine energy comes in. And in ancient times, and actually not that ancient as well, I mean, up until probably around the 50s and the 60s, it was well accepted that when the man goes out to the world and makes the money and brings the income to the home, to the house, it's the woman who would manage it, who would circulate it, who would budget for it so that the money is enough for, taking care of the family, nurturing everyone. And that was beautiful. But then what happened? Women also started to get more and more into the workforce. They started bringing in more, and the portion of who is managing and who is budgeting for the money, got disturbed. So the balance now is out. So right now, we're all into the more masculine side of getting more, chasing more, asking for more, which is okay. But we need to bring back the feminine side where we just use our inherent capabilities of taking care of others, of ourselves, of spreading, budgeting. And I know a lot of women do not like the word budgeting, but there are different ways to do budgets, right? You don't need a spreadsheet all the time or envelope systems, but someone to get back the control over managing it and making sure there's enough for different buckets and different categories. So that's what I'm trying to teach women right now, how to get back into their feminine flow and not be scared, because there's so much frustration and fear around money now, because getting into that masculine flow, getting into that masculine energy of earning money has depleted our feminine side. And now we are scared to get back to it because we've lost the path. And that's where I'm introducing the concept of using goddess archetypes as a way to see that we have these capacities within ourselves. And it's just a matter of tuning into them, right? And awakening them inside of us and seeing that there's nothing scary. There's nothing to be fearful about. And it's just a matter of step by step, going through the process and realizing that you have everything that you need to not only earn, but also manage it, start investing on your own. That's another misconception that I see a lot in a lot of women. They say, okay, I will earn, I can manage, my household, but when it comes to investing, I would rather give away my power to somebody else and hope that they do the best they can for my money so that I can get the return on investment that I want. And I want to teach them that they can do it on their own. It doesn't have to be thousands, hundreds of thousands, but just starting small with 5, 10, $20 a week or a month, just to build the confidence and reclaim their own power over their own money.
Yes, reclaim their power. I love how you've worded that. We'll circle back to your program shortly. I wanted to have a chat about that. I'm excited to hear more about that. One thing I would like you to explain now to the audience is the archetypes that you mentioned. This is like an ancient wisdom model, did you say?
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, it probably relates to your program, but just for anyone that doesn't really understand the concept, just if you can explain it more so anyone would be able to understand what you mentioned regarding that.
What I'm referring is the book that I wrote, Unleash Your Inner Money Goddess, where I look at 5 goddess archetypes from different mythologies. So I take 3 archetypes from Greek mythology, then 1 from Egyptian and 1 from Hindu mythology. And the idea is that we all have these archetypes within ourselves. We are born with these archetypes. I'm sure a lot of people have heard Carl Jung's work on the collective subconscious, unconscious, and how archetypes are formed and how we are born into this world with all of these characteristics. And it's a matter of, how your life unfolds and your personal individualistic characteristics to realize which of these archetypes are showing up more in your life, in how you behave and how you perceive things. So in the book and in my work, I ask women to identify which of the goddess archetypes do they see the most, the strongest relationship with. So we have Athena, who is more strategical, she's more logical, she's more practical, she has more of the masculine energy, but with that feminine flair to it. Then we have the total opposite of Lakshmi, who is all about flow, about abundance and beauty, and letting prosperity come to you instead of you chasing and grinding and hustling for it. Then we have Hecate, who asks us to look deeper inside ourselves, into our subconscious, to dig up the true values that we have, to realize what really matters to us. And this is very, to me, it's one of the most crucial aspects of understanding your relationship with money. You first need to really understand what you value in this life. And it's not what you say you value, but what your behavior shows. So that's why I ask my women to look at their past financial behavior, not what they were thinking, but what they did. So that reveals a lot. But let me get back to the goddesses. We have Isis from Egyptian mythology, and her strength is in gathering scattered pieces from different areas of our life, like our skills, our experiences, what we are naturally good at, what we feel attracted to, combining these into new ways and new, I don't know if you can also say into a new business, into a new venture, something new that you want to build from what you already have, but you just need to, organize it like a puzzle. And then the final goddess is Persephone, and her lesson for us is that we can thrive no matter what transformations and what challenges we face in life. So we have this capability of overcoming and learning and then exposing new sides and new strengths that we weren't even aware that we have. So when you start this process, at first, women see themselves in one particular archetype. But as they go through the model, they realize, oh, I have some of these and I have some of that goddess as well. And the truth is, you're never really just confined to one archetype. You have characteristics from all of them. And it's about learning how to work with those characteristics, how to invoke these archetypes within yourself to help you in specific situations. For example, I have always recognized myself as a very strong Athena because when I look at finances, I see them in a more masculine way. I see the numbers, I understand the equations, all of that energy. But I realized that I'm missing more of my feminine side to it. So I would start to get frustrated, overwhelmed, burnt out just looking at the numbers for what they are. So I realized I need to bring in more of Lakshmi's energy into my life. So that's where I started learning, to let things unfold, not chase sales or new clients, but allow the universe, if you want to use that term, to help you arrange, circumstances so prosperity can flow easily and effortlessly to you. It's a really interesting and exciting new way of looking at how you relate with money and what archetypes you can use because they're there for you anyway. So why not make use of them?
Wow, that's so interesting. I'll have to have a workout to see what mine's like. I've done a lot of stuff with like human design. So this is obviously a lot different. So it's mainly the archetypes are more focused, they're for money. That's what they related to, is that right? And what you mentioned, what I thought was quite interesting is looking at the behaviors. What are you doing? Not necessarily what you think you want to do. That was really cool. So with your book, so the full title of your book, I will link all the details in the show notes. It's called Unleash Your Inner Money Goddess, Ancient Female Wisdom for Modern Wealth. So with this, you have what you just explained, like how to go through the model and to break it all down. And then you've also got your program. So do you want to have a bit of a chat about that? So that's the Money Goddess Grow System. Is that what you teach inside your program?
Yes. So a lot of the readers of the book, they love the concept and they wanted to learn more how to actually apply these archetypes, how to work with them and start taking charge of their own money. So that's where the program came from. And it starts with the mindset. It starts with inner work, with archetypal work. We learn how to awaken or shut down some of the archetypes when they become too strong and we tend to lean into their shadow sides. So that's also, I've touched on it in the book, but in the program we talk more about it. How to turn the volume up or down depending on the specific situation or how you feel you need to show up for your money at that specific point in time. And from there, we move into the practical side of managing money. We start with simple concepts, looking at past behavior, looking at our current net worth. A lot of the women, this is the first time that they calculate their net worth and they know what it actually means. And of course, it's just a number, but it tells you something, right? It's information that you need to have so that you know what you're starting off from. Then we go to an entirely organized module around optimizing finances. So we talk about different ways to increase income and then decrease expenses, but without the spreadsheets, without the capping, expenses, and feeling that restriction that usually comes with traditional budgeting methods. So we use an entirely new framework to deal with budgeting and saving. And then the last module is the first steps that women can take to start investing on their own, and just seeing that it's nothing scary and it's nothing super complicated. I mean, if a woman in Eastern Europe in her is can start doing it, anyone can, right? I'm no special. I don't have financial background, working for a bank or a financial institution. And yes, I learned how to do it on my own. So that's the belief that I want to every woman to have. She has everything that she needs. And it's just taking one small step at a time to unleash that inner money goddess.
Yes, that sounds amazing. And this program's over 8 weeks. You would start, so there's obviously different modules within the program, and what you're saying, pretty much anyone at any stage of their money journey could join this. So it's great, I guess, for beginners or people that might know a little bit but just need to build that confidence. I think when it comes to money as well, there's just so much taboo around it. So having that mindset part of it, I think, is really important, because that's where we need to start. We need to, like we talked about before, is changing the beliefs, and then, changing the patterns, and it all comes from within. Then it's your subconscious. And I guess as well, like, once you have that power and you think the way you think about money, it kind of all unfolds. Would you say it just kind of all kind of comes together? And like you said, the universe. And you need to know, in a way, I think with business as well, for me, sometimes it's not necessarily going in with like hard pitches. I have a marketing business. I find I step back, and a lot of the time people will get referred to me, and it's always about building. I'm good with relationships, so I prefer to meet people for a coffee and have a chat with them about everything. And that's like probably a little bit old school than these days, where people are just meeting online or just sending an email or just purchasing a product. It depends where you are in the world, but that's, for me, it's usually I have local people. So I guess it's really just understanding what works. This is, in a sense, that's obviously business side. Now it's interesting to see how it's also available with money, what you're saying with your book. If someone was like unsure where to start, where would you recommend them to start? If they're currently listening to this and they're questioning, I want more, what advice would you give them to start with to help them open that up a little bit more?
Well, one small first step that they can take is understand really the archetypes at work within yourself. That will tell you so much about your relationship with money, what you fear, where you're lacking, or where you have more of. So I have a nice little quiz that can help them figure out, how much of an Athena they are, how much of an Isis they are. And the test result, the quiz results will also tell them what they need to work on or what they need to bring more of. Like, as I said, if you are more of an Athena like myself, maybe you need to bring in more of Lakshmi's energy to balance things out. And this will help you feel more wholesome, more complete. Like you're not inclining to one specific side of the equation. So yeah, taking a quiz or just any program or tool that can help you understand more about what you believe to be true about money. That's a great start. Like your mindset, your beliefs. What have you grown up to believe is true? What have your parents, your community told you, your school system, whatever, we are nurtured through our first few years. And these beliefs are just something that we take as granted. To us, it's just truth. So any tool that can help you start questioning and looking at those beliefs is a great first step.
Perfect. I will link your quiz. Can they find the quiz on your website? Or is that yeah, I'll put some details in the show notes where to find that. I think that's perfect. Quizzes are easy and they're fun. It makes it
Yes.
fun. So if they can get some value out of that to have a bit more understanding and then, be able to take it further to the next step. So you've been in business now about 15 years, is that right?
Well, 20 plus years, but most of it is in marketing as well. So we're colleagues. And I wanted to piggyback on what you said about how you're running your business and how you're not chasing clients. For a good majority of my work experience, I've been in that masculine energy, going after clients, applying for projects. And even as I was working with a client, the type of marketing strategies that we would use would be very masculine. It's been advertising, putting structures, workflows, and all of that. And when I started this business now with this educational platform for financial literacy for women, I decided that I've had enough of the masculine way of doing things. And now I will be all just open to receiving and getting people come into my energy and feel the vibe and, just matching frequencies if you want. Like you said, have a coffee, have a chat, have a talk with that person. That's why, for example, right now, if someone wants to join my program, we first have an interview. Well, not an interview, but just a call. I want to see this person. I want to feel their energy. I want to make sure that they can get the best out of the program and the program is the right fit for them. But yes, I'm now switching from hustle marketing to relationships because this is exactly how I got into being a podcast guest for, I believe it's now 20 podcasts now. Uh, be- because I connected with a woman, we talked, we discussed, and then she was like, "Oh, you know what? I have a podcast and I would love for you to be a guest on it." And that's how it all started. I never planned that to happen. And I love how when you open up to possibilities, the right ones come, right? Just a way of feeling it and getting on, hopping on. So yeah, I totally get, what you mean with the switch in the energy of how we do business. And I noticed that more and more coaches also talk about bringing back the feminine way of doing business and doing it, in that frequency with that energy of just allowing things to happen instead of pushing to them.
That's right. I think everything has kind of just naturally gone into that more masculine energy. And I don't think it's in any way anyone's fault I think it's just the way that the world's evolved. And it is harder. Life is harder. A lot of things are harder these days. And even, I guess, as well, a big thing is a lot more women are having to go to work. So it is changing a lot of dynamics and stuff like that. So having the knowledge that, we can bring it back and we can come back and, have that balance. The balance is really needed and it's important. Then once you do have that understanding, whether it's with money, business, life, friendships and relationships, it all kind of balances in.
Yes, yes. I'm all for bringing the balance back because right now it's too much into the masculine side for whatever reasons, or maybe it's just no reasons at all. That's just how society and global society evolved. But it's up to us. It's up to us women to bring that balance back, to make the scale even and equal.
I 100% agree with that. And I think it's something that I've learned over the years, especially now I'm not in a relationship, but it's also like not being too masculine with my independence. You know, I have to pay my own bills and stuff like that. It's not that I want to do that for the rest of my life, but it's just being more softer and stuff like that, and knowing and opening more, like open when it comes to meeting people. I've seen a very big shift in the way that my perspectives changed, and also with the environment around me when it does come to meeting new people. So that's really interesting. Is there anything else that you want to share about your book or your program that you think will be great for our listeners to take home today?
I just want them to remember that we have infinite resources, internal resources within ourselves that we can learn how to invoke and how to use. And even if it's not just about money, managing money and finances, but as you said, if it can be about digging up and unleashing these powers in the direction of relationships, home, kids, if you have kids, business, working relationship with your colleagues. These goddess archetypes, they're a lot more than what I have included in the book and in the program, but they are a very, how to say, they're an interesting way to look at human psychology and how it has evolved over time. But also they sound so true. When you go through the models and the archetypes, you can recognize so many truths and you don't know how to validate them, but you just feel right. And that's the ancient, deeper level knowledge and wisdom that we all carry with us, that we all have available. And it's only a matter of learning how to tap into it and make use of all the benefits and the beautiful things that it can provide for you if you start applying this ancient wisdom in your daily life.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. I think you've given me a really great insight to the way that I view money myself. And I have obviously done some belief work and some inner work. So I think this is going to be very powerful for our audience. So, what's the best way for anyone to get in touch with you? Is it through your website?
Yes. The website is the easiest way to get in touch with me and take the quiz there. There's also a free training that people can watch. But yeah, the website is the easy. Otherwise, you can find me on Facebook. It's just a little bit harder to type my name in the search bar.
I'll link everything in the show notes. So if anyone wants to get in touch through Facebook, you've got that option as well, or on the website. So there's something I always like to wrap up episodes with, and it's if you could give our audience any advice, go back to yourself before you embarked on this journey. What would you tell your younger self? Something that someone could be right in the middle of it now.
Have more trust. Just have more trust. Everything is going to work out.
Oh, that's really good. That's really powerful. I think we often don't trust ourselves enough. We allow other people to get in our heads. And this is also going back to the beliefs, and the belief systems that we have are not necessarily the ones that we want or we feel aligned with. We often can feel that if we believe something, if you're thinking, I don't know if I agree with this, but it's something I've known my whole life, that's when you got to start questioning.
Right. Yes. The moment that you feel there's some misalignment, you hear something, you know it is supposed to be true, but somehow it doesn't feel right. That's the moment that you need to start digging into it. And with our busy lives, most of us will just say, oh, I can't deal with this now, or it's not important. It is important. It's telling you something about yourself that you need to know.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Viktoria. As I said, I will be sharing all the details, all your links in the show notes for our listeners. And for everybody else, thank you for tuning in today, and I will see you next week.